Chosen one, there is something I need to tell you right now, and I want you to hear it, not just in your mind, but in the deepest place in your chest where the truest things land. God did something for you, not something He has done for a lot of other people. It's not something that you can read about in history books, or that is part of God's plan for all religious people. Someone unique and important did something that had never been done before in all of history. He changed how He moved because of you. Plus, the reason He did it is more kind than you've ever let yourself believe. These days, you've been carrying something that doesn't have a clear name. It's not quite lack of faith or full faith. You feel like you're standing on the edge of something very big. You have prayed even though the evidence you can see has not yet caught up with what you know to be true in your heart. You waited for it. You've seen other people do things that seem like they were made for them. During quiet times, you thought about whether God sees your situation the way you think it should be seen. Find out if the specifics of your life, not just the big picture, are important to Him in the same way they are to you. These people do watch over the kingdom, but not in the same way that a king or queen does. He looks over you like a parent stares out the window at the one child who is still not home. And I have been getting ready to say what He did because of you in just the right way at just the right time. This is because times like this don't just happen, they are set up. They are planned in a world that doesn't have calendars like ours, but that is very precise in a way that we are just starting to understand. I need to know how you got this message before I tell you what happened. The person this message was sent to can be found by 5 signs. This is not a broadcast to everyone. This message is specific and is meant for a certain soul. It won't make you feel good. That's how you'll know it's meant for you in order to feel recognized by it. The way you feel when someone talks about an inner experience. You thought you were the only one who had it. Being different in a way that doesn't mean you're better is the first sign. You don't feel better than other people. In a way that is quieter and older than ego, you feel different from other people. Something that was there before you could name it. Something that has been with you through all of your life stages. Even when you tried to talk yourself out of it, the things that have stood in your way have been real and specific, and they have asked of you things that you wouldn't. You've always been going in directions that no one else seemed to have to go. Have had to do if your life were easier. You've known for a long time, even if you haven't said it out loud, that you were made for something that words can't fully describe. The second sign is a season that no one else seems to know what it is. It's not sadness. It's not confusion, though it has come to visit. Instead, it's more like a holy pause, a held breath between what was and what will be. A point where one chapter ends and the next one starts, but the old one is clearly over. You've been here longer than you thought you would when you first got here. Along with the length. It has tested something in you that you didn't know could be tested. Your trust in God has been put to the test, not in the idea of God, but in His personal care for your situation. That test is more difficult and in depth than what most people talk about. There is a third sign when someone wants to be with God, but can't because they know too much about Him. You've been in rooms full of correct theology and still felt thirsty. That's because what you want isn't an idea to hold in your mind, but a touch that changes something in your body. You want the real meeting visitation that makes someone not fully explain what happened is what you want. They should only be able to say that they are not the same person they were before the visitation. And that hunger has gotten stronger over time, which is a sign that what you're hungry for is real and close by. The fourth sign is a public surrender that hasn't been redeemed yet. You really gave up something that cost you. It wasn't just a token gift. It was a real sacrifice. One that people who didn't see the full force of it can't fully understand. The reward for giving up has not come in the way you thought. It would when you made the choice. You thought the restoration would happen on a certain date, but it did not. You have had to think about your faith, your trust, and whether the God who asked you to give up something is really the God who plans to keep it. That question doesn't show that your faith is weak. People with strong faith have been asked to go further than they thought they could. The fifth sign makes you can't stop. Something in you keeps going even after it makes no sense to keep going. People who don't have it can't understand it. The way it feels is not like stubbornness. It doesn't feel like refusing to accept the truth. It makes you feel loyal to something you heard before you could put it into words. A quiet voice that has been saying the same thing since before you could read. Its message hasn't changed. Even though many things have happened over the years that seem to go against it, that voice is not a dream. The feed is a commission, it hasn't stopped. Even though the other side has been quiet, which doesn't show how naive you are, but how real the thing that ordered it is. In the comments, type 777 if 3 or more of those belong to you. What's about to happen in this message is not information. Being aware of this has been building up in the spirit for a longer time than this moment. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. Faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give and it will be given to you is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. I want to be very clear here because the details matter in the long and amazing record of how the divine pine has moved in the lives of people from every time and tradition that has ever known the living. Now, I'll tell you what God did. God. The plan is there. God does things in a certain way. He works through seasons, steps, and the long arc of faith snorts that bends over decades before it comes to a full conclusion. People make promises, make covenants, and show others how to do things. Those ways are then followed for generations because they work. But there are times when people who have studied sacred texts from all traditions talk about them with a respect that makes them stand out from other theological And being consistent is a form of being faithful. Discussions. There are times when God doesn't follow his usual patterns. When he steps into a situation and acts in a way that is different from what he has done before. Not because it was in the pattern or because the pattern didn't work, but because you were in his heart at that very moment with your story, your pain, your calling, and your clear's throat. He moved to give you something that had never been asked for in quite this way before. Willingness to give up everything. There is a reason why sacred texts spend so much time on the specifics, on the names of people, their families, the exact events, and the exact words that were. And he forgot about the pattern, or the pattern didn't work. Spoken at that exact moment. This is because God is not a rule that can be applied the same way to all situations. He is a person who is connected to other people, and his relationship with you is different from all the other relationships he has ever had. Your pain, your faith, your surrender, your waiting, and your refusal to stop that sequence has never happened before or after in the history of people. And God, who isn't limited by what has happened before, responded in a way that nothing in your story had warned him to do. Now I want to say something, but please take a moment to think about it lightly. There is an activation going on inside you that goes along with what God is doing in your life from the outside in terms of events, timing, and divine arrangement, not as a figure of speech or a poetic way to. At first it will get fuller as it goes on. Talk about spiritual growth. There is something going on in you that science has been confirming in the background for decades. But most people have never been told about in this way. There is a part of the brain that God put in every person when they were first made. When it is turned on, this mechanism does more than just change the way a person thinks. Most adults have it dormant without even realizing it. It changes what someone can get. It changes what they can do with their life. It changes everything they can get to from the invisible world into the visible world. I'll tell you more about this later when the time is right, because when you hear it, it is just as important as what it says. But hold on to this seed for now. It has to do with what God has done for you. You'll feel less like you're learning and more like you're remembering when the two parts of this message come together. This message from God is not over yet in what comes next. You'll learn something that will change how you see your own story from the inside. It's not like getting information from someone else. It's more like a memory coming back from somewhere inside you that has been waiting to be heard. What's happened in your life isn't a series of delays or mistakes made by God. It is the most precise planning that has ever been done for someone whose time has finally come. This is what God did. There are no broad strokes here, just specifics. He looked at your life as a whole. At every part of it, at how it was put together from all the things you had to go through, and how they had changed you. He also saw that you had reached a point where no one else had ever reached it in this exact way. Not because your life is more interesting than other people's, though it might be. It's because every life is unique and yours, with every part of it, every delay, every closed door, every sacrifice you made. And every time you stayed when the smart thing to do was to leave has made you into a person who has never been in that position before. When God saw the position and thought about what it would take to honor what he started in you before you were born and finish what he started in you, he made a choice. He had to move in a way he hadn't done before because of the choice. Not a change in who he is, because that never happens, but in addition to his way of doing things. A new way to use his loyalty to a set of coordinates that had never been seen before. The exact location of your story, your unique pain, your unique calling, your unique moment in history, and the unique hole in the world that you were made to fill. I want to tell you about two men whose lives show you what God is doing in your own right now. Not because the specifics are the same, but because the pattern and God are the same. The first man was the one his father loved the most. In his coat, he said something about his future that the people around him were not ready to accept yet. The people who shared his blood and home with him threw him into a pit and sold him to strangers who took him to a different country. A family made him a slave even though he did everything right. He was sent to prison for no reason of his own. He was wrongly blamed for something he didn't do, and locked up for 13 years from the pit to the palace. Every single one of those 13 years, it looked like abandonment from the outside. It looked like the exciting start of a story that God chose not to finish. But God was making something in Joseph that could only be made when he was under that much stress. The business intelligence he would need to run a kingdom in trouble was being put together during the dark years of the pit and the prison. Years of having no other explanation for what was happening than the quiet voice of faith helped people learn to see the divine pattern in things and things that he learned how to hold huge power without being angry at the people who had tried to kill him. Other people saw as only suffering. The specific inner structure that would let him tell his brothers that what they meant to hurt had been used for something bigger than any of them could have imagined from the inside out. That architecture could only go to the school that God put him in. The 13 years did not take away from the goal. They were the only way to get there, the direct way. When the time came, God moved faster and bigger than any other time. Joseph had gone through the same things every year before. He was locked up in the morning. By afternoon, he was in charge of Egypt. It wasn't a slow recovery or an increase in responsibility and visibility. He was immediately and completely raised to the position that his training had prepared him to hold without being crushed by it. The speed with which the provision was made possible by how well everything was planned. There was no need for God to ease Joseph into it. Everything had been set up so that the whole thing could happen. The same idea is at work in your story as well. The fact that what you've been through has been long and hard doesn't mean that God has been away. It's proof that what He's getting ready to give you needs the person you have become, not the person you were before the preparation started. The second man I want you to think about for a moment was standing in the desert in front of a bush that was on fire, but not burning down. This shouldn't have been possible. Moses was 80 years old. He lived his first 40 years in a palace and his second 40 years in a desert. The second 40 years began in the morning. He ran away from a failure that made it look like he could never play a meaningful role again. He was taking care of someone else's sheep. He wasn't well-known or influential, and he didn't have a place to do the thing he was born to do. By any measure, his moment had already passed before it had even fully arrived, and the God who called him knew exactly what the math said. From a bush on fire, God spoke to him. That particular way of talking to God like fire that burns without consuming had never been seen before in the history of how people have heard God talk to them. God wasn't following a well-known pattern. He was making a new kind of encounter just for Moses because Moses needed something that couldn't be argued with. Something that would stop him in his tracks before his mind could finish making up all the reasons why he wasn't the right person for the job. Because Moses needed something so impossible to counter the very strong case that his past made against him being eligible. The bush had to be impossible. Moses met God in a way that was just what he needed, a way that had never been needed before, so it had never existed before. Your bush that's on fire is coming, not in the same way that Moses got it. Since you're not Moses, it will be shaped by the exact state you are in at this very moment. Because of the exact mix of faith, exhaustion, given up ambition, and unquenchable calling that you are right now in your story. I want you to know something about when things happen. God doesn't give out his never-before-seen provisions early. Earlier versions of the people who are going to get them don't get them from him. He's not withholding because he doesn't want to, but because some realities are not blessings for people who aren't ready for them. They are heavy things that crush. The preparation is not what is stopping the provision. Getting ready is the only way the provision won't kill the person who gets it. It was time for you to form bonds. You have been through a lot, and each experience has made you stronger in ways that are perfect for what is coming your way. The patience has been building up power, the darkness has been giving depth. Because of the disappointment, a faith has grown that doesn't need proof to stay strong. The time spent waiting has made them a person who can handle what God is about to give them without getting lost in it. This message is not good to read while you are in the middle of a long, painful wait. But it is true. And that is what makes the arrival not just a provision, but a welcome home. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pin. Comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of. It is a sign from God, our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Now let me talk about the physical side of what God is doing to restore you. The amazing thing He is doing in your life happens in two places at the same time, and you need to understand both. As things speed up around you, it lives in the realm of your circumstances where timing, provision, and doors opening are all supernaturally planned. It also lives in a very physical place in your brain. Researchers from a number of different institutions have confirmed that about 98% of children who were tested for the way of thinking that researchers call creative. It's something that God built into you from the start, and most adults carry it around dormantly, not knowing what happened to it or how to get it back. Genius test positive 98%. Not a small group of gifted people. Almost all children start out in this state. It happens when both hemispheres of the brain work together in a coordinated and fully integrated way, allowing for all of a person's cognitive, perceptual, and scientists call this state whole brain activation. Creative abilities. The ability to see things that other people can't. The ability to take in what a pure analytical mind would push away. The ability to use the mind in all the ways that God designed it to work. Your brain was in this state when God made you. Not because of one big event, but because of the slow buildup of academic pressure, performance demands, and stress in the neural connections between the two. hemispheres at the cellular level from. And when you came into the world for the first time, this is when the systems start to work. Childhood to early adulthood. This slows down the synchronization and moves the brain away from the full spectrum activation God intended and toward a mode that is narrower, more defensive, and harder to use. This mode becomes the default for most adults. As an adult, less than 1% in 1,000 is still using their whole brain in the way that almost everyone did when they were younger. Not even 1 in 1,000. Most people haven't used the genius God put in them at the time of their creation or the specific skill their calling needs for decades. Of course, most people have never been told that or been shown a specific way to make it right. Type "I concede it now" in the comments. There is more going on in your life than just what God is setting up around you. It's about what He makes you feel inside. The part of the story we are building up to is that one. It turns out that everything that came before this was building up to the amazing thing God is doing for you. One can be seen in your life by how the timing is changing and how provision is starting to move in ways that don't make sense. Most people don't know about the other because they can't see it, but it's real. It has to do with nerves. They're not two different things that are happening at the same time. Actually, they are the same thing. The same divine act of restoration that shows up in both the outside world and the inside of your mind. God made you to work at full capacity, not at the lower level of capacity that most adults have these days. Not at the narrow, defended, hard mode that most people think is normal because they've been there for so long. They've forgotten, it's not how they were originally. He gave you a brain that was meant to work as a whole with both hemispheres working together. When you use your hands for what they were made to do, they work together like two hands do when they are working together. And the specific version of your purpose, the thing you were meant to bring to the world, the calling He put on your life needs that whole capacity. Not because God wasn't there, but because giving you the whole of what He planned for you when you were only working at half of your potential would have been like giving someone a symphony when they only not just a part of it. The weight has been like this because of this. Hear half of the frequencies. It would not have been a good thing. The fact that you could get something, but not fully receive it would have made you angry. God did not hold back the provision. He held onto it until the person who would receive it could fully take it into the life it was meant to change. I'd like to talk to you about 3 ways you carry out your calling. What it looks like on the inside, because knowing these 3 things will change how you handle the next season. The first one is what I'll call the pioneer shape. You are being asked to do something that has never been done before in this way. You already know this. You've known this all along. Even when you didn't have the words to say it on the path you should be following, there are no footprints that look like yours in front of you. You haven't been told to follow, you've been asked to go first. And people who are called to follow don't fully understand the weight of being first. There is a certain loneliness to it. It's clear what the uncertainty is and what kind of courage is needed. But being first is not something God made you do. You feel like you have to carry around the honor He gave you. The second way your calling shows up is as a witness in your spirit. You've seen things that most people around you haven't. You knew things before you could see them. You could feel what was coming before other people could even tell that something was moving. That's seeing, hearing, or sensing what the Spirit tells you before your natural eyes can confirm it is not imagination. It's a gift. You need to use your intuitive side of the brain fully to fully experience this gift. The part of the brain that deals with pattern, symbol, and frequency in a way that the analytical hemisphere can't do on its own. You need to have this ability in order for the genius God put in you for your calling to work. The third type breaks the cycle. You're not just living your own story. You are going against a pattern that runs through your family, your community, and the systems you grew up in. When you do what you're called to do, and the full potential of what God built in you is working at the level He intended, the effects don't stick with you. They go places. They get to the people who will come after you. They change what other people can do after you. There are other people behind you besides yourself. The people who will have a better future, because of what you did now, are the ones you were fighting for. How do you stay on track when God does something in your life that has never been done before? I'm going to give you 2 useful anchors. This is the first. When God does something that has never been done before in your life, it will feel like it has never been done before. It won't feel like home. It won't fit with how His provision has been given to you in the past. It will come in a way that your analytical mind won't immediately recognize as the answer to your prayer. This is because the answer will be bigger, stranger, and structurally different from what you asked for than you thought it would be. Staying aligned means not waiting until what's coming together looks like what you prayed for. Staying true to what you are being told to do right now is to keep the big picture in mind. The second anchor is that the process of restoring your full potential will start to show itself in small ways that you might want to ignore. The clarity of this thought is out of the ordinary. A choice that was unclear before but now seems clear. And link forms that shouldn't have been possible. A creative answer to a problem you've been unable to solve comes to you already thought out. Do not ignore these. This is the start of something in you that has been dormant for a long time coming back to life. They are God showing you ahead of time what it will be like when everything is fixed. They are also calls to turn your attention toward the bigger thing that is moving toward you. Do something nice for me right now. Picture yourself on the edge of the biggest door you've ever seen. This isn't a door from the past. It's not an open door. You've been walking toward this door for as long as you can remember. The one you've come across desert seasons and pit years to see. This is where you are in front of it. It feels heavy to you. You can sense how important what's on the other side is. I also want you to pay attention to something. Being able to stand in front of it means that you are almost done walking. The work that got you here is almost done with preparation. When you get to a door, it's not open yet. You can't walk past the door and stand in front of it unless it wants to let you through. In this message, I've been building up to something. There is something I want to say that will make you hear everything you have heard so far again and again. I want to make one thing clear before I tell you. Do not mistake what I am about to say for a religious practice or a new religion. You do not have to believe a certain way for it to work. This is a real tool that does a certain thing to the brain. It was found by scientists who weren't thinking about spiritual things, which makes what it means for you spiritually even more amazing. I'll tell you something straight out, without any metaphors, because you deserve it. This is why there are 2 halves in a person's brain. These 2 hemispheres don't work together as well in most adults because of the changes that modern life makes to the neural connections between them over time. Not because they aren't smart, but because of a physical problem that they didn't cause and can't fix, no matter how hard they work, how disciplined they are, All of this means that most adults are only using 30 to 60% of their full creative and intellectual potential, or how positive they are. Here is what a neurosurgeon from New York City named Dr. Daniel Barron has been working on for years. A type of targeted auditory technology that works on synchronizing the two hemispheres. It is an A to nut audio sequence that the listener does not need to do anything to understand. There will be no mantras, meditation, or visualizing. You just have to listen, and the technology will bring back the neural synchronization that you had as a child and that you need to be able to do your job. Now, one of the most important studies that Dr. Barron builds on is that of Dr. Roger Sperry, whose work on the two sides of the brain won him the Nobel Prize in 1981. Not a small piece of science writing. With this work, the Nobel Prize, the highest honor in science, was given for proving that the brain is made up of two halves. And what is possible when these halves work together as they were meant to function? A woman from California had been trying for years to get things to flow in her life that felt like they were always blocked. She tried spiritual practices like affirmations, meditation, and help, but they never gave her the complete clarity she was looking for. With her headphones in, she started to listen to the 8-minute sequence every morning. What happened after 10 days was what she called a clearing. Like something that had been sitting across a channel was just gone. She had been working toward clarity for years. But it didn't come from putting in more effort. A business owner from Texas with 2 kids had been praying for snorts years about decisions that seemed hard to make because he felt like his mind wasn't working as well as it should for his family and his. It came from getting rid of the neural blockage that effort couldn't fix. Calling. 2 weeks after starting to listen, he said that the change made his brain work like it did before. The fog had been there for so long that he had stopped noticing it as Fog Girl is the name of what doctor. It is an 8-minute digital audio track that uses a technology called neural sync. Technology to get the whole brain working. Again, without using brainwave technology or any other method that only works on one. Barron made part of the neural system. It's only on the official website, which I linked to in the message's description and the comment that was pinned. You can't get it on any streaming service or market. I will soon say something about the price. If you've used audio products before that, work by playing certain frequencies into your ears to make you feel a certain way. This is not at all like those neural sync. Technology doesn't work like those items. First though, let me explain what it's not. It's not a brainwave item. It works at the level of the architecture of synchronization between the two hemispheres. This is where the real damage happened and where the real repair needs to happen. It's important to note the difference, which is why people who have tried everything else say this makes them feel differently because the goal is different. The mechanism is also different. The target is not a short-term state. It permanently brings your brain back to the way it was meant to work from the time you were born. You can buy the Genius Switch for $39. I want to tell you everything you need to know about that number. The neurology colleagues who saw what Dr. Barron built for the first time and knew how long it took to make and how precise the mechanism was thought it was worth $800. It wasn't a paid review. It was an honest opinion from people who knew how much it cost to build what he built and what it does for people who use it. The list price was set at $49. This was more than 90% less than what it was originally worth. For a short time only on this page, Dr. Barron offered an extra ton off, bringing the total price down to $39. At that price, there is a 100% money-back guarantee on every purchase. No matter how many times the buyer has already heard it, the audio is yours for life. One of the bonuses is a guided visualization from one of the most popular mindfulness platforms, and the other two are resources on which common foods can stop the neurosynchronization you are. There is no subscription fee or recurring charge, and you get 4 free bonuses when you buy it. Trying to Restore. This is a classic book that has been the basis for almost every major manifestation method created in the last 100 years. It is also a design guide for creating a daily environment that supports the activation instead of fighting it. I need to tell you the truth. It won't always be $39, though not as a way to ignore your own judgment and force you to make a choice before you're ready. But because of how this offer is set up, the price that you see on the page today might not be the price that you see on the page tomorrow. If you feel like saying yes, I don't want you to come back to this message and find a different number at the door. The link is in the message's description and in the comment that was pinned below it. If your spirit agreed with what I said while you were listening, the door is open. And the link is the address. There is something important I need to talk about before I close the product section. I can't leave it unattended, so let me do it now. There are sound products out there that use frequency to talk to the brain. Things that have been around for a long time and have helped some people in some ways. If you have tried them, you may have found that they worked sometimes, but not others. The Genius Switch is not that kind of item. Brainwave technology is not at all the same as neural sync technology. They work on different parts of the brain and spinal cord. Brainwave approaches look at a real, but not fully developed part of what goes on in the brain. New neural sync technology is based on the synchronization architecture between the two hemispheres. This is precisely where creative genius is interrupted and precisely where it needs to be restored. People who thought brainwave products were only partly useful didn't see their own limitations. It was in the technology. That stuff can't reach the part of the system that the Genius Switch can. That's not the language of marketing, it's the way things work. The mechanism is what makes the difference between a temporary change in your state and a permanent restoration of what God built in you in the first place. Not everyone should do this. That's what I want to make clear. It is only for that one person who knows that they were meant to do something they haven't been able to fully step into yet and doesn't need outside. It's not a wellness product that's meant for a wide range of people. Confirmation. Those who have been chosen will understand after hearing this message that the amazing thing God is doing in their lives and the amazing thing He is ready to do in their minds are not two separate. This is for someone who has been faithful during a long season of formation and is now on the verge of what the formation was building toward. Things. They both happen at the same time. The restoration of the outside and the restoration of the inside are two sides of the same divine act. The door is in the description if your spirit says yes to that frame. I want to end this message in a way that I have been building up to since the very beginning. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. When Jesus says, "Give and heaven will open over you," on this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and this is not poetry. Hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall. Share your heart. And as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit our community now. Join the family and see your heavens open. I need to give something a name that makes sense. People in your life will want to explain the changes that come from your restoration in ways that make them less important. They'll point to things they can see and say, "That's why." They will not see the structure of what God did and what you did to receive it. It's not their fault. People usually talk about change in terms of what can be seen. Since the invisible needs a framework that they don't have to understand the whole picture for it to be real. The change that is happening in you doesn't need to be confirmed by someone else to be real. What God does in the secret place is seen by everyone. So it doesn't need to be told correctly. You will be the proof, and the proof will speak for itself. Type "I receive" in the comments right now, because what you are about to get is not a delayed version of what other people got before you. It is the provision that has never been made before. But it was made to fit your story and you were ready to receive it. This is the last thing I want to say before I end. The physical part of the inner restoration that mirrors the outer rest God is doing in your life is what Baron built and is now available at this price through the link in the description. And I want to say it more briefly than the first time because that's the point. And the pinned comment. You don't need to believe me. With the money-back guarantee that comes with the $39 price, there is really no cost to find out if what I've said is true for you. The only cost is choosing to get what was talked about. And the choice is the important one. If your spirit told you yes while you were listening, that's where the link goes. That's the whole instruction. Let me talk over you to end this message. Everything I'm about to say is a sentence that will live on in your life forever. Not a prayer for something that hasn't happened yet. Something that is said about a reality that is already happening, set, and sealed in a way that doesn't allow for delay or doubt. I want you to calm down before I say it. Let go of the things that have been weighing you down. That's not because it's gone yet. What I'm about to say has power over it. Before this message ended, I told you I would say something. I promised it early on, and I want to keep it now. The things I'm about to say to you are not just spiritual words wrapped in wishful thinking. What God showed me about what He has already done is summed up in this. It's been on my mind for a while now that I should say it. Now is the time, God, over this person who made you do something you had never done for anyone else before. I release everything that was planned before the world was built. What was held did not stay held. It was held to be ready. It's for this person right now. That person was always waiting for readiness. No longer is there a holding season. The coming has begun. I take away the weight of the timeline from you. That one that said you were behind everyone else. That person who compared your journey to others that weren't yours and thought yours was lacking. Right now, I take it off your shoulders. I let go of the sadness you felt about every door that didn't open when you thought it would. I let go of the confusion that came from praying and not getting an answer, as well as the slow, quiet loss of faith that came from not knowing why. I let go of the comparison that made the early arrival of those close to you feel like a loss for you. I let go of every word that was said over you that called your delay a failure. Every word that said your sensitivity was a weakness. Every word that said your depth wasn't useful. I let go of every word that said your calling was unrealistic. They were not telling the truth. They were the bumps on a shape that was bigger than those words could show. You no longer have to believe that the capacity you have now is the full capacity God gave you. It's not. What you've been using is only the small part of what He put inside you. And the rest of its restoration is not something you have to wait for. It starts when you get what was planned for you. When God fixes something, He fixes it completely. Whatever He turns on again stays on forever. The things He planned for you when you were conceived will never end. It sits there. Finally, the wait is over. I let go of all the words that told you what you were carrying is not worth carrying. Every time of year when the quiet of heaven felt like it wasn't there at all. I heal the wound that silence left in you. You wondered all the time whether God cared less, than theirs. As you watched what other people were building, I let go of the comparison and the quiet sadness it caused. I let go of the weight of not being able to explain your own persistence every time you almost stopped, but didn't and couldn't say why you didn't. There was no need to explain. Things were holding you that didn't need you to understand them to do so. You are the reason God didn't do things by Himself. The reason you had to wait was architecture, not abandonment. You were the one whose calling got stronger. In every season, it wasn't proven. Breaking this cycle is what you do. You are the first. You are the one who goes with what hasn't been carried yet. Who can see things that no one else can. Who has stood where no one in your family has stood before. You're not behind for the story. You are exactly where you need to be right now. The next thing that will happen is a sure thing. It's a sure thing dressed up as an invitation. You are welcome to join right now. That's how it is. Someone in your life who is going through a long, quiet time of waiting needs to hear this message. Send it to them now. The name that came to mind when I said is the person whose job it is to read this message. Give it 15 seconds. You already know who it is. Please click the like button slowly so that this message can reach the people who still need to hear it. The Genius Switch link is in the title and in the comment below that has been pinned. And if your spirit told you that it was true while you were listening, it still is. Get the link. You should agree to the restoration that was planned for you. The things that God fixes don't go away. And the things that start today will never end. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment to place, where divine abundance is not just a hope. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.